Participants are welcome to school Vedic Mathematics Teachers Orientation course. We are in the orientation chase-2 stage. It is a stage of values and formats. Today in step 3, our focus is going to be upon a frequency. Previously, we had initiated ourselves with respect to the concept of a pairing where we availed values 1 to 9 and 1 space to 9 space as two distinct classified mathematical entities of values and formats. At next step, we had reached at pairing choices. Now a step ahead, we are reaching at pairing frequency. From the concept of a pairing, where we on the one hand had values, on the other hand we had geometric entities. Then we had seen how there can be a pairing choices when there is a single entity in one jar and single entity another jar. At the next stage, when there is a single entity in the first jar but there are pair of entities in another jar, a step ahead, single entity in the first jar and triple entities on the next jar, and so on. Is next sequential step. In the first jar we had a pair of entities, and then sequentially in the second jar we reached at single, double and triple entities so that the process can be extended. Then at a further step we availed the situations of a first jar with triple entities, while the second jar is sequentially having single entity, a pair of entities, triple entities, and so on. From here, we are now reaching at the next phase and stage of the mathematics of pairing. In this mathematics of pairing, if we are, say, having value 1 and then we have an interval, and then if we have value 2 and we are at square, then we can see that within a square or within a surface we can have a line as well as a square as well. If cube has value 3 association pairing like that, then we can see that within a cube we can simultaneously have interval, square and cube as well. It is here where we will see that the pairing steps on our part, the pairing mathematics which we have been approaching in terms of the previous pairing simpliciter to pairing choices. Now we see that these both situations as these are not helping us, will not help us to conceive that there can be a further generic processings, generic values, generic mathematical steps. We are today reaching at this next generic pairing mathematics. For it, let us first of all have a concentration in terms of the sets where there is a single value 1. Now in the single value 1, if we want to have a choices and we want to reach at the value 1 which can be reached, it is only one way. We can say it is one way only to reach at value 1 when the choices are restricted to the set with single entity. Now if we are having a set of a pair of elements 1 and 2, then if we want to reach at value 2 by choices from this particular set, we can say we can have 1 plus 1 and also we can have 2. So there appears to be that we can reach at 2 in two ways. Here we are reaching at 1 in one way only, and we call it a one way, means one frequency. Here from the set 1 and 2, when we are making a choices to reach at value 2, then we say we have two ways. We will have double frequency. We can say we can have a frequency 2. Frequency 2 is for reach at value 2 from choices from set of values 1 and 2. A step ahead, when we are having a set of 3 elements and we want to reach at value 3, then one reach would be 1 plus 1 plus 1. Another reach would be 1 plus 2. Still another reach would be 2 plus 1, and the next reach would be 3 itself. So there are four ways in which we can reach at value 3. So we want to reach at value 1 from the set of single entity 1. It will give only one way to reach at 1, so it will be having frequency 1. If we want to reach at value 2 from the choices of the set of values 1 and 2, then we can have two ways in which we can reach at 2, and we say the frequency is going to be 2. Then if we want to reach at value 3 by choices from the set of values 1, 2 and 3, then we can say we can reach, first reach would be like this, second reach would be like this, third reach would be like this, and the fourth reach would be as 3 itself. So we say the reach for value 3 by choices from the set of values 1, 2 and 3 is going to be 4. So frequency here is 4. A step ahead, when we will be having, we want to reach at value 4 by having choices from a set of quadruple values, then we'll see that we can reach at 1 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1. Then we can reach at 1 plus 1 plus 2. You can reach at 1 plus 2 plus 1. Then you can reach at 2 plus 1 plus 1. Then you can reach at 2 plus 2. Then you can reach at 3 plus 1 and 1 plus 3. And also we can reach at as 4. So we see here value 4 can be reached by choices from the set 1, 2, 3, 4 in 8 ways. There are 8 ways in which we can have a reach at value 4. So these 8 ways of reach at value 4 by choices from a set 1, 2, 3, 4 comes to be 8, and we say here the frequency is 8. Now let us have a pause here. See, for reach at value 1 by a choice from a set of value 1 only, the frequency is 1. For reach at value 2 by choices from the set 1 plus 2, there are 2 choices, that's the frequency is 2. For reach at value 3 by choices from a set 1, 2 and 3, there are 4 ways, 4 frequency. For reach at value 4 at values 1, 2 from the choices from 1, 2, 3, 4 is 8. Now these values, 1 can be written as 2 raised per 0, it is 2 raised per 1, it is 2 raised per 2, and is 2 raised per 3. Very clear, some progression is in sight. This progression in sight, now we see is going to be 2 0 2 1 2 2 2 3. See, the base is common. However, at the index there is a sequential progression of the order 1 more than before. This progression, which straightway will help us reach at 2 raised to power 4, and then further it will help us reach at 2 raised to power 5. Therefore, if the exercise before us is to reach at value 5 by choices from a set 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, their answer would be that it is 2 raised to power 4, that is 16 ways. So 16 is going to be the frequency of occurrence of reach at value 5 for having a choices from 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5. A blissful exercise for us would be, let us see, we want to reach at value 6 and choices are to be made from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. Then our way of reaching will be 32. We will call frequency is going to be 32 and things can be extended. Let us have a pause here and let us revisit how this pairing mathematics is unfolding itself sequentially, and ultimately it is the rule of one more than before, the rule of Ganita Sutra 1 is coming to our rescue, is coming into play. However, to have the catch as to how the rule of Ganita Sutra 1 of sequential progression of value 1 at a time or one step at a time, when this mathematics, this processing step, this working rule of Ganita Sutra 1 is to be applied and is to be availed, then simply we have to be slow, we have to be gentle, we have to take one step at a time, and we can reach at by making this tabulation and posing to ourselves that 1 leads to one frequency for reach at value 1. From this set for reach at value 2, we lead to 2 frequencies required. From this choices for reach at value 3, 4 frequency would be there. This would be reached by 4. Now, when we have a choices for 1, 2, 3, 4, and we want to reach at value 4, then it will lead to 8 as a frequency. When we want to reach at value 5, by choices from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it will lead to 16 frequency. And when we want to reach at value 6, by having a choices from 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, then the frequency is going to be 32. And straightway, when we want to go a step further, we can straightway write it is going to raise to power 2 raised to power 6, that is equal to 64 is going to be the frequency for having a reach at value 7 by having a choices from the range 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, and step ahead naturally the frequency will be 128, then it is going to be 256, and this way we can see that ultimately it is going to be 5 raised to power 12 for reach at value 10. So if we want to reach at value 10 by having a choices from 1 to 10, then we will see the frequency is going to be 2 raised to power 9. The value 2 raised to power 9 for us going to be important, as we know the total letters of the text of Ganita Sutras and Upsutras is 519, which makes 512 plus 7, and we know the letter 7s are Anurupe, which is within bracket formulation for the Sutra 6. So Sutra 6 is having a formulation Anurupe within a bracket, which is a setup of 7 letters. So these 7 letters as such make a clause in itself, and then remaining letters are 512. This means it is going to be 2 raised to power 9. It would mean the choices for making are reaching at value 10. So our choices to reach at value 10 from the range 1 to 10 is going to be equal to the total number of letters of the text of Ganita Sutras and Ganita Upsutras, except 7 letters which are within bracket in the form of a formulation Anurupe of Ganita Sutra 6. This way is going to be a conceptual reach. This conceptual reach of the mathematics of pairing of values and formats, the mathematics of pairing of values and formats, of pairing the values and with the geometric bodies of the dimensional spaces. This is a mathematics. Therefore, we, the teachers of Vedic mathematics, are under solemn duty that we shall very gently, sequentially impart this information, this mathematics, these processing steps to the young minds. Young minds are innocent minds. Their intelligence is at initial affine state. This initial affine state of the young minds is of such pure and sublime values that to put it along the mathematical format, to make them mathematical minds, we have to go slow. We have to be approaching it in gentle steps. These gentle steps as well shall be in a sequential progression, and this sequential progression is going to be as per the mathematical rule of Ganita Sutra 1 together with the symmetry rule of Ganita Sutra 1. Therefore, we shall introduce the concept of sequential progression of one step at a time, one more than before, but here we can very intelligently and in a very smooth manner, in a very pure, sublime, acceptable environment, we can put the young minds as that these one by one steps of progression, when are being used for pairing, then here we can see the natural phenomenon. The natural phenomenon is of a mirror. The mirror gives an image for the object placed before it. The object is placed before a mirror. The mirror takes the image of the things before it, a object before it. Therefore, when we are having a mirror here and we are putting a particular object in place of a mirror, then this mirror is accepting the nearest thing first and puts it in its back. Then the next thing from the mirror is being placed equally distant at the next in sequence. Those sequence and form of the placement of the constituents of the object as such are truthfully, very gently, sequentially, sincerely is being arranged by the mirror in its back. That way, if we start from here, we say the last constituent is taken up first, being the nearest to the mirror, and then the next before the last So this way sequentially, when the before the object the constituents arrangement is as per the rule of Ganita Sutra 1, one more than before, then the same is sincerely taken up as an object. An object is made exactly as it is. However, the orientation is changed. It is this change of orientation which is to be imbibed. And for proper imbibing of this orientation and for ensuring that young mind is not getting any jerk, the young mind is in a affine state. This affine state of the mind intelligence field of the young mind is not to given a jerk. No scratch is permitted. Therefore, we have to move very, very systematically. For it, the best format available with us is the format of our body itself. The child is having a similar format for its body. The teacher is also having an identical format of a body. Now it is a facility. So teacher is facilitated for its communication with the help of the format of one's body. Now this format of a body we can very easily convince, we can very naturally conceptualize, we can impart this absolute concept of a symmetry with the help of a concrete format of a body, and we can convey straight in a natural way to the child, to the young mind, as that symmetry is a phenomenon. Symmetry is a mathematics. Symmetry is a processing step. Symmetry is a mathematics, and it functions and gives a reach as there is going to be a reach in the formation of our body. For it, we can straightway take that we are having a pair of hands. Then with the help of pair of hands, we can slowly impart the values of a mirror reflection. We can take one hand and say it is an object before a mirror which is invisible, but we can say there is an invisible mirror implanted in our body, and this mirror is having at the mirror line which is putting both nostrils in the opposite placements of the central line, and with this central line be introduced as a mirror line. This mirror line of a body which separates the nostrils, which separates the eyes, which separates the ears, and that way it ultimately reaches at and it separates the hands, it separates the legs. Now this way we can very slowly, sequentially, gently introduce a very, very basic, absolute, conceptual concept of the mathematics, that in a pairing we can have a situations of a mirror. We can avail the mirror. Therefore, it is this availing of the mirror would mean the opposite orientations as such, though are giving us the same sequential progression steps. However, the orientation is changed. Therefore, we can introduce that when we reach at 1 plus 2 as a 3, and when we reach at 2 plus 1 as a 3, then both, though the ultimate value is the same. Therefore, we can introduce that if there is a object which is having a white and a black part, and it is placed before a mirror, then we know that the black and the white part will get reversed in orientation. However, both will come as a constituents of the object. So from the object part 1 to object part 2, we will reaching at image part 2 to image part 1. This orientation as such is of a valuable step in the organization. Here, as the progression is from here to there, here the progression is in the opposite direction. That is why when we reach at value 3 as 1 plus 2, and when we reach at value 3 as 2 plus 1, though value wise these are the same, however internal structure wise, internal reach steps wise, it is going to be of different features. It is this object and image features which are to be retained. It is this retention of the internal structural difference along the orientation formats like of object and image through a mirror reflection. Then we can introduce as to how here in the choices being made from the set 1, 2 and 3, when we want to reach at value 3 in this set of 1, 2 and 3, then we are having 1 plus 2 as a distinct reach and 2 plus 1 as a distinct reach. It is this feature, it is this value, it is this format which deserves to be introduced. Young mind deserves to be introduced to this concept of reach at value 3 as 1 plus 2 and as value 2 upon 1 is actually a distinct reach. One is to be slow. No doubt it will take some time for the child to absorb it. However, this being the reality and this being the reality of the occurrence, frequency occurrence, so the pairing concept of pairing of values and formats, we want that child shall be properly exposed for values and formats. For values and formats, we are having a pair of distinct entities. So 1 to 9 and 1 space to 9 space are absolutely distinct entities. They are being tried to be paired here only for the sum of the features which can be simultaneously carried. Now, therefore, for this pairing, when we are having a distinct entities, then from this mundane, this realistic with pebbles like pairing, we reach at the next step of a pairing choices. So from the pairing choices, when we have to reach at frequency, then we have to absorb the feature of a object and a reflection image through a mirror reflection. We have to absorb the concept. We have to absorb the concept of opposite orientations. Therefore, we have to introduce that line is a line which has a reach from one end to another hand. So if we take it first and then reach would be of this orientation, and if we take it this as a starting point at the first end, it would be of opposite orientation. Therefore, the concept of an orientation, the concept of object and image, the concept of a reflection image, the concept of a symmetry, the concept of a invisible mirror embedded in our body, and because of it there being a symmetry placements for the hands, for the eyes, for the ears, for the legs. This concept deserves to be introduced very slowly, very gently, and for it we are availing Ganita Sutra 1, which is Eka Adhikain. Therefore, this sutra, Eka Adhikain Purve, is to be introduced very gently, and then coupled with it, we have to introduce the symmetry rule, Ganita Upsutravan Anurupe. These two sutras, this sutra and Upsutra, these together are to be introduced for having a smooth transition from the pure and simple concept of pairing to the concept of pairing choices to the pairing frequencies. From the simple concept of pairing to attainment and breakthrough of reach at the mathematics of pairing choices, and from there to have a further leap forward as for a reach at pairing frequencies. Once we are successful to put the child on this sequential mathematics format, then this sequential mathematics format will be though started with the initial counting or sequential progression of a line, but it ultimately would be having a reach for a pair of orientations for the sequential organization. It is here where we will remember that we had a counting of till 5 steps, and then we introduced the concept of a reverse counting, and it is this concept of counting, forward counting and a reverse counting. The first orientation chase steps will again are to be revisited or to be reminded, and once we will be revisiting this mental progression of pairing to pairing choices to pairing frequencies in the light and the background of the orientation chase steps of formats only, when we were having a reach at counting and the reverse counting. So counting and a reverse counting, and ultimately the frequency leading us to the pair of orientations and introduction of the concept of the mirror, the invisible mirror within a body. But however, when we'll be introducing the numerals as 1, 2, 3 as single digit, and when we'll introduce 0, 1, 0, 2, 0, 3, then we'll see that when we'll be reaching at 1, 0, there is going to be a change. This 0 to 1, when reaches at 1 to 0, it would mean there is going to be a change of an orientation, and this change of an orientation is a mirror-like, and it is a swapping of the places by the digits 0 and 1 because of the mirror. And it is this way we can see that the artifices of the values of the numbers as well are in fact having the mirrors. The introduction of the mirrors as the artifices of the values of the numbers is a concept where we are reaching. We are slowly putting ourselves for a mathematizing the young minds by putting them as that the sequential progression which puts us that we are progressing and progressing and progressing. However, with the introduction of the concept of the reversal of orientation, we will be seeing that ultimately we will be introducing the place value system as well. It is this reach with the help of reversal of orientations, with the help of a mirror, with the help of introduction of the mirror within the artifices of the values of the numbers, which will help us have a progression for the mathematizing the young minds. And ultimately, with the introduction of the concept of orientation for an interval, we'll see that when we will reach at a dimensional frame, say this dimensional frame or for this dimensional frame, then we can say we can split it having this and this as one part and this other part, and it is going to be that way a orientation, and it is this orientation and it is this split of a dimensional frame. So reaching from the orientations for an interval to the orientations for the dimensional frames, it in other way amounts to that we will be splitting the dimensional frames in two parts of opposite orientations, with each axis dimension splitting into a pair of parts of opposite orientation. It is going to be a big reach. It is going to be big flip. It is this big flip for which we are going to have this orientation chase, and with this orientation chase we will be ultimately introducing as to how that within a surface we can have a line and a surface, within a cube we can have an interval, square and a cube, and it will be as amounts to that this value 2 for surface is in fact taking us to 1 and 2, value 3 for 3 space as a cube is taking us to value 1, 2 and 3, and this way when we are having pairing of the values with the dimensional bodies, then these inherently are taking us to the features like this, value 2 and value square, and square as interval and square. Therefore there is going to be a very big reach from here to here, a very big reach from here to here, and it is this reach for which we are preparing ourselves. Once we are in a position to introduce ourselves, expose ourselves, and to initiate ourselves as to how the concept of a pairing, which initially very innocently stands accepted by the young minds as if values 1, 2, 3 are going to be 1 space, 2 space and 3 space, but ultimately when we will proceed further we will know we had a very big acceptance at the earliest, though true, but at the initial stage this acceptance is going to be providence. For this initial acceptance of the young mind, for permitting us to associate one with one space or one with an interval, is a provident, is a gift to the Vedic mathematics teachers. They can proceed upon this initial acceptance, though with an innocence, but ultimately is going to be a very, very, very big concession by the young minds to the teachers, and teachers can avail this, and for properly availing it we have to simultaneously introduce the Vedic mathematics with the help of the mathematics of the Devanagari alphabet format, as the Vedic mathematics text, Ganita Sutras and Upsutras are availing the letters of Devanagari alphabet, and these letters of Devanagari alphabet are carrying along with them their values, their features, their mirrors and all those things, and those we are taking it for granted at this particular stage, but ultimately we have to face it. And when we have to face it, then at the initial stages as well, slowly by getting a concession of acceptance from the young minds, we can introduce like this, that value 9 is a Nav Brahm, value 8 is Asht Prakriti, value 7 is a Sapt Bhumi, value 6 is a Suryang, value 5 is an Akash Tat, value 4 is a Vayu Tat, value 3 is a Agni Tat, value 2 is a Apa Jal Tat, value 1 is an Prithvi Tat. These are the concessions being accepted. We are requesting the innocent young mind very honestly believe us, though we are begging a concession of acceptance at this stage, but these are the true acceptance being taken from them, so they may have these particular concepts with them, as with these concepts we will be in a position to carry them forward very slowly, gently, to make them really good mathematicians. And with it we will be taking these bodies, and first body we will take up will be a cube, the representative body of a 3 space, which has length, breadth and a height. And then we'll see it has 6 surfaces like 4 walls of a room, floor and a roof. And this will make a dice for us, with the help of which again we will be coming back to permutation and combinations, and the pairing mathematics being ultimately being of very large range of the mathematics. Thank you very much.